have 9 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Daily Fire Weather Briefing. Today is August 4th, Monday. Spokane side, Daniel here, and then on the Seattle side, we have Jake. So looking at our current satellite imagery, we have a low pressure trough in Oregon that is bringing increased cloud cover to the Cascades and northeast Oregon, and that cloud cover will kind of like move northeast throughout the day, and we'll have a chance of showers and thunderstorms in eastern Washington and North Idaho. And then we have a second system out in the Pacific right now, which will bring us some chances for showers and thunderstorms like Wednesday and Thursday. So we'll be keeping an eye on that system as well. In the past 24 hours, this is where all the lightning strikes were, mostly in northeast Washington and North Idaho, north of Sandpoint, a little bit over 50 strikes. And then there's one also in the North Cascades off Highway 20 on the north side near Washington Pass as well. So for the fire weather matrix, I'll have Jake speak first on this one.
Hey, thanks. Yes, Daniel. So as Daniel pretty much talked about, we'll have onshore flow continuing for the west side as we get in through Tuesday. That'll give us very good RH recoveries again tonight. They'll lower a bit on Tuesday during the afternoon, but then we'll have that weather system move through Wednesday into Thursday. And with that, we'll be introducing more widespread rain potential and widespread rain showers, and also the chance of wetting rain, especially across the Olympic Peninsula, the western slopes of the Olympic Peninsula, as well as the northern Cascades. And that's generally from late Tuesday through the Thursday timeframe. And then we'll start to dry out as we get into Friday. And certainly next weekend looks like we'll return to a warmer and drier pattern as an upper ridge and high pressure builds into much of the Pacific Northwest and offshore. So that's all I got. Thanks, Daniel.
All right. Thanks, Jake. Yeah, so for eastern Washington and North Idaho, like I was saying today, we have those chances for showers and isolated thunderstorms with that system moving northeast and Oregon currently, and then that second system moving through Wednesday and Thursday, bringing those chances for showers and thunderstorms. And then by Friday, that system starts to depart. Still have some isolated thunderstorms chances in North Idaho, but just like on the west side, as we get into the weekend, we start to enter a warming and drying trend as that high pressure ridge starts to build. So now I will go to the weather tabs. This is day one temperature. We're looking at in eastern Washington, generally 80s to very low 90s, like in the Okanagan Valley and the Columbia Basin. And then on the west side, temperatures in the 60s and 70s. With minimum RHs today a little higher than what we've been seeing in eastern Washington and North Idaho, kind of like mid-20s to mid-30s, with all that cloud cover moving through, kind of keeping those a little bit higher. And then on the west side, they look decently high too, like 50% to about 70%, except like near the Olympic Peninsula and like along the coastline there, up into the 80s with that onshore flow. And then looking at wind today, fairly light on the west side, like 5 to 10 miles per hour, like west, southwest mostly. But then as you get east of the Cascade Crest, kind of breezy today, southwest 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting up to 25 in the upper Columbia Basin. But everywhere else, it's not too bad, like below 20 miles per hour, southwest gusts. And then probability of thunderstorms for today. The highest chances are in southeast Washington and the southern panhandle and like along the Montana border. And then like the northern mountains, like 15 to 25% chance of thunderstorms. So not super widespread activity expected today. I'll go to day 3 Wednesday and I'll let Jake talk about the chances for wedding rains.
Thanks, Daniel. Yep. As I mentioned before, with that system coming in, so on the left side there on the graphic, that's for the pretty much Tuesday night to Wednesday morning time period, and then the right side will be during the day on Wednesday. So you'll see the chance of wedding rains increase in probability during that time frame. Initially for the western slopes of the Limerick Peninsula, and then as we get into the day on Wednesday into Wednesday night, more so for much of the Cascades as well. And generally in those areas, looking for about 40 to about 70% chance of wedding rains during kind of that Wednesday into Wednesday night time period. And again, that's mainly going to be for the Olympic Peninsula, especially the western slopes, as well as the northern Cascades, particularly from about I-90 or King County northwards. Elsewhere, we will see additional rainfall across the rest of western Washington, but those are the kind of the areas we're focused on for potential wedding rains during the day, Tuesday night, and then through Wednesday. Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah. And for eastern Washington and North Idaho, it looks like generally a 10 to 30% chance of a wedding rain with the system coming through Wednesday, with the greatest chances like in far northeastern Washington and North Idaho panhandle there. Going to day 4, you want to speak on this one too for your side, Jake?
Yeah. And so this shows the chance of wedding rain again as we get into Wednesday night into Thursday morning. On the left side, we see mainly focused over the Cascades there, similar areas, King County northward. And then we see kind of the potential will start to wane as we get through the day on Thursday afternoon to Thursday night as precipitation starts to taper off. So pretty much what I said before, those areas are the main areas we're focused on for the wedding rain potential, with probabilities anywhere from about 40 to about 70%. Thanks, Daniel.
All right. Thanks again, Jake. And then pretty much for Thursday, the best chances for wedding rain will be pretty much north and east of I-90, like 20 to 70% chance. Again, with the best chances near the Canadian border in northeast Washington and North Idaho. So looking at our days 1 through 5 precipitation forecast. Jake, you want to speak on this one?
Yes, and so this is kind of the deterministic, our forecast currently total overall 1 to 5 day rainfall amounts for Western Washington. And so again, highlighting those areas where we're likely to see the heaviest rainfall is going to be the west slopes of the Olympic Peninsula, and then again from about I-90 northward, and that blue shaded color is a half an inch during that 5-day time period, with higher values as you get towards some of the peaks across the North Cascades as well. But pretty much all of Western Washington, we're looking to see at least 1/4 of an inch over the majority of the mountain areas, and at least a tenth of an inch elsewhere across Western Washington. So this will be beneficial rain certainly as we go through that 2-day time period, at least before we start drying out Friday into next weekend. Thanks, Daniel.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, and then for eastern Washington and North Idaho, the best chance for half an inch, which is that blue contour there, is in far northeast Washington and North Idaho, which kind of matches up with those best chances for wedding rains graphics that I showed earlier. Elsewhere, it seems like the Columbia Basin area won't get too much, but definitely as you get north and east, those odds increase for at least a tenth or more in the next 5 days or so. Starting with trends, start on the west side.
Yeah, so this is for Ohanabakosh, just near Rainier, and it shows the trends pretty well. So the temperature trends are generally going to remain cooler than normal for the majority of the work week here. See temperatures below normal there, but they do start to rise as we get into next weekend. You see Saturday, Sunday, and Monday they really start to ramp up again as we get that high pressure building in, and you see that correlate well with the relative humidities. pretty good recoveries during the overnight period, and decent RHs even during the minimum timeframes over the next few days, with either the weather system or onshore flow continuing. But they do start to fall as we get into next weekend with high pressure. And then at the very bottom there, you see the probability of precipitation generally peaking during the Wednesday timeframe for the Cascades. And yeah, I think that's all I have. Thanks.
All right, thanks. And then for Eastern Washington, I'll do a spelum since there's a few fires in that vicinity. So kind of like on the west side, below average temperatures throughout much of the week, and we're actually kind of cooling. Today will be the warmest day in the mid 80s, but then as we get to like Thursday, we're looking at upper 70s for that area. But then we kind of have that warming trend starting late in the week, back into the 80s and even into the 90s. Our relative humidities will get down into the low to mid 20s or so over the next couple days, but with the system coming through Wednesday, Thursday, we'll have some higher humidities and good RH recoveries, like in the 60s to 70s. But then as we start to warm up and dry out, those RHs start to get dry again in the low 20s and then even teens by early next week. Winds look fairly light through the period in the spelum, generally like southwest during the day. And similar to the west side, our precipitation chances kind of peak Wednesday and Thursday as well, like 30 to 40% chance for precipitation there in the spelum. And then in North Idaho, I'll go with like Hoodoo. Kind of the same story where we cool throughout the week from the 80s into the 70s. And that warming trend starts like Friday, Saturday, and continues on into next week. Same story with the RHs where today and tomorrow are kind of the driest days of the work week, mid 20s, but then they rise into the 30s and even like almost 50% by Thursday. And pretty light winds in North Idaho throughout the week. And our precipitation chances kind of peak like Wednesday night into Thursday for North Idaho, but then they start to slowly decrease throughout the day Friday. As far as the 8 to 14 day temperature and precipitation outlook for Eastern Washington and North Idaho, we're actually looking at near normal temperatures and precipitation, perhaps slightly above normal precipitation. And Northeast Washington and far North Idaho, like 33 to 40% chance. But then as we get over into Western Washington, we're looking at a higher chance of above normal temperatures, like 33 to 50% chance, especially closer to the coastline and further south, but near normal precipitation is expected in that 8 to 14 day period. Do you have anything else you want to say, Jake?
No, I think you covered it well. Thanks, Daniel.
All right, sounds good. So if you want any additional fire weather information, you could go to the OTX fire dashboard at weather.gov/OTX/fire dashboard. So now I'll stop recording and see if there's any questions. You could raise your hand.